Hey guys, welcome to a repot video, which I haven't done in quite a long time, so I'm quite excited to get repotting. I've gathered a few plants that are struggling with something. I don't know what it is. Either they're not growing new leaves, or when they do grow a new leaf, the new leaf shrivels off. So we need to get to the bottom of it, essentially. I have made up a fresh batch of tree fern soil that I'm not super confident about because it's not quite the same kind of composition that I normally go for. Usually it's chunkier than this. Right now it's very like small granules, it's very fluffy, and there's a lot of amendments, but they're not as chunky as I normally make it. I think it's gonna be fine, but I don't have like massive confidence about it. But to be fair, I don't have massive confidence on anything plant related these days, but we're gonna give it a try. I restocked on the soil component. So right now I'm using the ProMix HP High Porosity Myco mix, and it's roughly 40 to 50% of the mix. And the other half is tree fern fiber, a lot of perlite. The perlite I really like to use because it's very economical. I can split it with a bunch of other people and still have a crazy amount of perlite. It's this one. You'll see on the bag what it's called, but I think it's called like Supreme Perlite or something like that. And I really like how there's like a nice, like the majority of the particle sizes are nice. I think it's like a number 3 grade or so. And I really like the particle size on it. It's got a nice, it's not like fine little pebbles, but there are tiny pieces mixed through. And the only way you can get like the perfect like number 3 distribution, like the majority of it being number 3, is by sifting it, which I haven't done. So what actually poured out of the bag when I mixed it was a lot of small little perlites. I've also mixed in just like a little bit of pumice, and there might be a little bit of zeolite in there because I just dumped in some DIY pond, but there's definitely not a lot of it. So the majority is the myco mix, tree fern fiber, and perlite. Oh, and also the tree fern fiber bag that I currently have, for some reason, it's super fluffy. It's almost like it's milled. It's not very sticky as it normally is. So it ended up blending really perfectly into the tree fern fiber, making it extra fine and fluffy. So I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I might overwater it. So I just have to be mindful of that. But before I show you the sad plants, can we just do like a little bit of a palette cleanser? Last week, I showed you in my, if you watch my plant room walkthrough video, I was showing you my Carla Wu One Self that had put out a new leaf. And you know how Velvet Leaf Anthurium, when they put out a new leaf, like after that leaf unfurls and expands for a little bit, it's still shiny. And I was saying in the video how that leaf was still shiny and it was like this big. So I was predicting that leaf to be quite big. And I just want to show you what that leaf looks like now. Are you ready? Get a load of this bad boy. I really hope that the scale of it is showing up on camera and you can see how it's still floppy. My face is in line with the leaf right now. I'm not behind it in any way. It's like the size of my torso, honestly. It's so satisfying to finally see a pristine large leaf. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is the old leaf, the only leaf that was on the plant. Even though there are tears and stuff in the leaf, the leaf that remains looks pretty healthy. I don't know if you guys will remember, but this plant and also the contaminated Carla next to it, they were probably the largest leaves in my tent. And a lot of the leaves would end up with these like dots all over and kind of like a dusty film over the leaf. And I know it's something fungal, some sort of issue in that direction, but rather than using antifungal, I decided to re-inoculate with myco and just increase the cadence of feeding CalMag, just in the hopes of strengthening the plant rather than killing off the fungi. And I'm not saying that definitely worked, but so far I'm not seeing those dots returning on the fully hardened leaf. And this is definitely the largest Carla leaf I've ever grown, which bodes well for potentially using as a mother plant again. It will set the plant back a little bit to produce berries, but I really want to make Carla by Carla Lux seedlings, and the fact that it was able to make a leaf this big makes me feel more confident that it's like relatively happy and strong at the moment. So yeah, one last look before I put her back in the tent. All right, first sad plant I want to tackle today is also a Carla. It's kind of related to the other one. It's a Carla Wu 2 Self. This one has been on some sort of sad girl journey for a year and a half or so. It was doing pretty well when I first got it. It was a seedling and it was growing up, it was sizing up, and then I took the bottom cutting off for my friend Danny and we were doing like a trade. And then ever since then, it's just been like so sad. And this was the last leaf it grew and it was super veiny. And it just looks like, I don't know, it just looks super how do I describe it? Anyway, the top growth point is died off. So the next leaf it grows is going to come out of an axillary bud. I want to clean it up. Right now it's in tree fern, possibly tree fern pond. I don't really remember, and it's super algae ridden, so it's really hard to see what it is. So I want to get into this like kind of finer fluffy mix and just see what happens. But more importantly, I wanted to just kind of cut off any rot that's inside the pot. I don't necessarily always think that any type of rot inside of a pot is going to be worthy of taking it out and like cutting it off and stuff. So long as the healthy roots are outpacing the rot, I usually kind of leave it alone and monitor like the leaf health and see if it's declining. This plant is obviously not happy, so I suspect there's some rot in here. The next one is another plant. I wish it was a stronger, healthier plant, but it's not. It's my Dreamweaver by Necromancer. This started out in this pot. I think it's mainly tree fern with some perlite mixed in. It started out as a stump and like a leafless stump, just a stem cutting, and it rooted out in here. Since then, I haven't touched it, and it was growing, but it was not sizing up. And the last leaf it grew fully expanded, and then it just yellowed off. I'm not really sure why. I suspect root rot as well. The caterpillar is not yet dead, but I think if I don't do anything now, that top growth point is going to die off as well, and it's going to start shooting out things from the side, which I don't really want. It wouldn't be the end of the world if that happened, because if it did happen that way, I would just like have multiple Dreamweaver by Necromancer, but I would prefer if it would just size up for me. Just to show you, this is the second newest leaf. The newest leaf came out here, but like I said, it fully expanded and then it yellowed and then dropped on its own. So yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else pertinent to show you. This is just an older leaf that's got a little bit of damage, a little bit of crisping. The other one, this one was a bit of a surprise. I thought it was on its way back, but nope. This one is a plant I got from IAS. It's from Paul. It's called a Carla Yard by Stripey Mag. And you can kind of see the venation. It looks a lot like a Stripey Mag, to be honest. It's like more that than the Carla. The newest leaf shriveled off, which this plant has never done. It's never been amazingly healthy, but it's never done this. This used to happen to me when I was brand new to Anthurium. Like it would put out a new leaf and it would expand, it would shrivel off like this. And I knew it was some sort of a nutrient issue, especially when the roots don't seem to be the problem, and I definitely didn't like let it dry out while it was trying to form a new leaf. Years ago, when that first happened to me, I fixed it by introducing Myco, and that was the first time I ever used Myco, and I was sold since then, and I've never stopped using Myco since. So maybe this one needs to be re-inoculated. I'm using the Myco mix. I don't trust that the Pro Mix has actual viable Myco in there, so I'm going to be re-inoculating with Great White. This one I think is in a mixture of a lot of very sticky tree fern fiber, and I think like chunky pumice and something like that. It's been so long since I repotted this that I'm not really 100% sure. And then I have this, which is my Mr. Worldwide. This one I got from Matt or Caterpillar on Instagram. By the way, I'll just link all these people in the description if you're interested in looking at their Instagram. But if you guys didn't know, Mr. Worldwide was bred by a guy named Teo. He's not breeding, he's not really in the hobby anymore, but he made Mr. Worldwide. And I think the NSC port used was a Dorito. Don't quote me on that, but basically it's a batch name for all these different Mr. Worldwide. So a lot of these ones you'll see circulated are actually different specimens. They're not identical to each other. Matt's specimen is very strong, which is why this is really strange. His specimen, he was telling me it would pup constantly, and every time it pupped, that first new leaf would be like this big, and it would immediately flower off that leaf. It was just like a really robust specimen. So I've kept this in the exact mix that he shipped it in. I have not touched a thing. It's mainly tree fern fiber, but there's really chunky pumice in there as well. There might be something else lower down, but I don't really know. There's quite a lot of roots in here. I don't know if I'll see rot. This one really puzzles me though, because it's 2 leaves in a row. It's about to put out another one, and it's about to flower. See, there's one coming out here. So it doesn't stop trying to grow, but there's something, the issue with it. And I think I will up pot this one. The other ones, I think I don't need to up pot it. There probably isn't enough roots to put it into a bigger pot, but this one for sure, I want to get it into a larger pot. Like this. It's not like a huge increase, but I think it probably wants a little bit more room. So those are the plants we are working on today. I feel like starting with the Carla. I feel like I just watered these plants yesterday, so I think they're going to be pretty soppy. Let's see what's going on in here. Okay, definitely some dry rot. By the way, I'm going to be saving any substrate that's not too yucky looking and sanitizing it. So it's going into my big communal bowl here. I usually hand pick out the leca and just save it into a separate bin to use as drainage layers. And by drainage layer, I mean, I guess it's more like a reservoir layer. Okay, let me get some of this substrate off so you can see what I'm looking at, but I'm pretty sure some roots have desiccated. Yeah, you can definitely see these ones here where it's like kind of falling off. It looks like dry rot because it's super wrinkly and deflated. I mean, I wouldn't put it past me to have dried out this plant on multiple occasions. I am getting better. I truly am. I truly am watering plants before they're fully drying out now, but that's like in the last couple of months. I think in the walkthrough video, you could see that it was so much better than my last walkthrough video, which was just like, I almost didn't want to upload that because everything looks so sad. Okay, yes, quite a lot of rot. This one looks like wet rot because it's still quite plump, but just brown and soggy and yeah. Okay, there's a lot to cut off, but it's kind of what it looks like, the squishy brown wet rot. I don't know if this is gonna be helpful to anyone, but sometimes when I'm trying to locate rotted roots amongst healthy roots, it's more useful when there's a lot more roots in this, but sometimes when you're just like not really sure what you're looking at, just wiggle it a little bit. Rotted roots will kind of dangle, and then healthy roots will kind of stay in place and they won't wobble quite so much. So anything that's dangling like this, I know it's dead. So here you can see like the tip of it's dangling, but the top of it's not, and it's only really rotted at the tip. So I'm only going to cut off here. Anyway, that's just something that helps speed up the rot removal process for me. All right, I think I got everything. So most of the roots were removed. We're left with this. And I was looking at like the roots I removed. Very little of it looked new. It didn't look very branchy. It's very obvious this plant hasn't rooted in quite a long time. I'm just cleaning up the stem right now. I'm removing old sheaths. It's looking like this. There's no active axillary bud. The top growth point definitely is dead. Here it is. It would have been right here. It's all died back here. Just found another root nubbin that is rotted. I'm not gonna go to the lengths of soaking in hydrogen peroxide or anything. I'm just gonna pot it up like this. But as expected, it doesn't need an upsize of a pot, so we're gonna use the exact same size pot. I think this shall do, and we'll do a little bit of leca at the bottom. I'm just covering the bottom because I am very low on leca and I don't want to go to the hydroponic store. I am liking the look of this tree fern soil. It is so fluffy. I know it'll kind of settle in the pot and it won't stay fluffy, but I'm choosing to be optimistic. I just adjusted it a little bit because I realized I had buried it quite deep until I realized that the next leaf is going to come out of an auxiliary bud, so it's going to be beneath the substrate, so I didn't really want it to fight through too much soil to get to the light. So I just kind of pulled it upwards a little bit and filled in the gaps. So I think that's how we're going to leave it. It's not fully buried. There's like almost an inch of stem above the substrate. I'm just gonna water all of these plants with Great White dissolved in water. I probably could have just sprinkled some dry on top of the roots, but I always forget to do that. It's just muscle memory to water it through after, and I always forget, but that's also something you could do. So that plant should be done. Next plant I want to tackle is the Dreamweaver by Necromancer. This one I am actually quite concerned about because I think it's going to be the hardest to replace if I were to ever lose it. I can already see dead roots, squishy roots, looks like wet rot. This root right here is super squishy. I know it's hard to see because it's all kind of covered in algae. Let's get all the substrate off first. It doesn't really smell. It just smells like earth. It doesn't have stink. Okay, there's quite a lot of healthy roots, some pink roots as you can see. So it's not super rotty. Maybe it's just lacking in nutrition. But overall, the root system is not looking terrible. But there was some rotted roots at the edge of the pot. I've removed very little of it that I can see as rotty. But overall, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. But like the other one, I don't think I'm going to upsize the pot either. I'm just going to put it in the same 4-inch size square pot. I really can't tell you what the problem is with this plant, but it was in mostly tree fern fiber with some chunky perlite mixed in. We'll get it into tree fern soil and we'll see what happens. This plant used to belong to my friend Jose, and if I recall correctly, he was growing it in Lechuzapon, and I don't think he amended his Lechuzapon either. There's a possibility it was in soil or some kind of soily tree ferny mix. I don't really remember, but he mainly grew his plants in Lechuzapon, and he kept his Lechuzapon dry and he treated it like soil. I've never tried that with this plant. Like I said, it's always been tree fern since I got it as a cutting. So if this doesn't work, I might consider DIY pond because I don't really have access to Lechuzapon. Although some people have been telling me that Lechuzapon become more available in the States, I don't think I've heard that from Canadians. But DIY pond, since I have access to the ingredients, it's like so much better cost-wise for me. So I'm gonna try to keep going down the DIY pond route, and it's also like a larger grain size, which I enjoy. Because with Lechuzapon, I always amended it anyways to make it a little bit chunkier because I found Lechuzapon just a little bit too, it's so small that the vessels end up being quite dense. They're super heavy compared to DIY pond. That being said, I think Lechuzapon is pretty well loved by Anthurium. It's just that I didn't quite like how dense it was and quite how heavy it was. And obviously I don't love the price of it. I think those of you in Europe will find the price pretty accessible. Not quite the case here. Okay, I think this one is done. I think I might put a scoop or two more just to cover this emergent root so it can possibly grow out. But yeah, I think that is where we're going to leave it. I've been extra fond of my colorful Anthurium lately. It always comes and goes. Right now I'm kind of fixating more on veiny, sparkling, vivid colors. Not that I have any red crystals that are vibrant and super intense, but I have been extra fond of those plants in my collection lately. Okay, next plant I will do, I guess we'll do all the small ones first. So I'll do the, what's this? Carla Yard by Stripey Meg. This one needs repot regardless because look at how much stem is above the substrate. There's no roots coming out of here. I think I want to clean this up a little bit and bury it deeper. The roots on this are really fine. Like, do you see how skinny they are? There's no big, thick, chunky ones at all. This is tree fern perlite. Tree fern with a lot of chunky perlite. And the roots don't look terrible either. There's a little bit of rot here and there, but nothing that I would normally be super concerned about. But there should be enough healthy roots on there. This is the rot that I'm talking about right here. But there's enough healthy white roots on there that should have supported the plant. I just broke some. Perfect. If I just remove this little bit of rot and see what we're left with, get rid of this shriveled leaf. Overall, this does not look problematic whatsoever. So I don't really know. It's a mystery. I wish I had some answers for you of what I think it is. If you have any theories, let me know, but I think it must be a nutrient thing. But we'll just bury more of the stem. So there's some roots that tried to grow up here that kind of hardened off, but hopefully this will activate it. So we'll just bury it up to about here. I was kind of putting off doing repot videos because I wanted to like save one to do like a very long, like chatty one, life updatey one, talk about different topics and stuff. But I really wanted to get these done, and I don't have time to edit a super long video because next week I'm actually going to be working at TED. So this year is the last TED that's going to be in Vancouver, and I'm lucky to be part of a team that's making coffee. So I don't get to go in and like listen to the TED Talks, but I will be able to make coffee for the TED people, and I think there's quite a few coffee vendors, so hopefully it's not too crazy of volume, but I'm quite excited to be doing that next week. In my current job, it is in the coffee industry, but I'm not making coffee, and I miss it so much. I was doing a conference, not a conference, like a trade show a few weeks ago, and I was making coffee for probably like 5 hours straight. My body hurt so much, but I missed it so much. Like just handing off like a cup of coffee that I'm super proud of making to someone to enjoy. It's a feeling that never really quite gets old. So that's kind of why this repot is quite short and sweet and simple today. It really had to get done, but I don't have the capacity this week to have it more hangouty or as hangouty as I want it to be. Okay, so this one is all done. I think pretty much all the gaps are filled. Here we go. Let's see if it grows this season for me. Last one is the Why am I blanking? Mr. Worldwide. Let's see what's going on in here. There's a lot of stem cleanup that needs to get done on this. I wouldn't be surprised if the roots are completely fine on this. I wish I had more clear reasons why these leaves are shriveling off. So it's two things for me usually. It's nutrient deficiency, which could be nutrient lockout or just not feeding my anthurium, which I am feeding with every watering, so it could be lockout, but I think my pH is okay. See, the roots are totally fine. What the heck? The other reason could be that you let the plant fully dry out while it was expanding that leaf, so it didn't have the juice to expand the leaf and it aborted that leaf, which I also don't think happened in any of these cases. I'm just gonna clean off all these sheaths so that when I bury it under the substrate, it's not gonna get soggy and rot. The other interesting thing is that this one hasn't pupped for me ever, and it pups for Matt all the time. There's a bee in this room. I'm not quite sure how you got in here. I don't know if you can hear. I don't think you can hear. But, oh man, how did you get in here? I'm really happy I'm not scared of bees. Truly, I am stumped as to how this bee got in here. Please don't pollinate any of my plants, okay? I know you're just doing your job, but I need to keep track of these things. I'm so confused. Okay, let's chop off these leaves that shriveled. I think we're pretty much cleaned up here. I guess this root is a little bit shrivelly, but overall the root system looks quite good. I don't actually remember if I was in the middle of explaining oh, it is pupping. I keep getting distracted. There's an activated axillary bud here. As you can see, the top growth plane is active. Okay, so I guess we'll have a pup of this plant at some point. I'm just gonna sort this for a second because I need the space. Garbage here. Substrate that I'm going to recycle on this side. There's not really any dead roots in here. Just tidy this up a little bit. I just don't want this bee to pass away in my house, and it very much could. And if this bee goes downstairs, I don't want it to sting my dog's face, which happened before with Doug. I'll see if I can find a photo of when Doug tried to bother a bee and it stung its face and I had to pull it out of its muzzle. It was totally fine. It was kind of funny, to be honest, but don't want that to happen. We might have just enough to kind of cover the bottom of this pot. I really don't want to go buy leca. Okay, that's fine. I forget if I finished my thought process. So could be nutrient lockout, which my pH shouldn't. My pH is not too bad. Could be drying out the substrate while it's trying to grow. Don't think it's that either. To be honest, I just use tap water and the pH of my city water is not in the ideal range. But when you factor in like the nutrients tend to drop the pH a little bit, and I don't really bother with pH down because my plants can grow leaves with just straight tap water. I don't use distilled water. I don't use reverse osmosis water. That's not to say nutrient lockout can't happen, but it doesn't tend to be a problem with my tap water. Anyway, we'll just keep an eye on this. Maybe it is nutrient lockout. I don't really know. Try to get this plant sitting as low as possible so I can cover more of the stem. I don't hear the bee anymore. Oh, the bee is just hanging out on my grow light. Poor baby. You know, I do have faith that this plant will bounce back this season, just because I know that in that last pot, the substrate was tree fern pumice. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I know that it had grown quite a bit since it was sent to me. And so there's a lot of stem on the substrate. And I did notice that that pot dried out fairly quickly. So if anything, this will stay like with moisture for longer. So if nothing else, maybe that will be the ticket to this plant being happier. But I would love for it to grow a few more leaves, and I want to cut these crispy leaves off. I guess this is evidence that it did dry out a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it didn't dry out to the point of aborting leaves. All that to say, I don't have the answer. I wish that things were a bit more obvious when I unpotted plants, like the first Carla where there was a lot of rot, but with the other few, it didn't look like very obvious why the plants were struggling. Okay, I just took another unplanned break because my camera suddenly died, which is amazing. So I took that opportunity to let the bee out. It's out, but in letting the bee out, a moth decided to come in. Anyway, I got my micro water here. I'm just gonna lightly water it. Some is going to come out the bottom, but I'm going to let it sit in water, like, because there's that leca layer, and let it kind of wick up the moisture towards the whole pot, because there's quite a lot of peat in here from the myco mix. So that's going to repel water for a little bit. So I want it to sit in a little bit of moisture. And yeah, basically that's it. These are all going back into my tent, and we'll see in the few weeks, couple months, to see if, like, I don't know, something's gonna happen. Something has to happen, at least with one of them, right? I don't have much left, but I should be able to do most of the Mr. Worldwide. I will get a little bit more later. Anyways, that is it for today's repot video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It did get a little bit messy there at the end, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. But if you didn't, I completely understand. I hope you guys have been having a lovely start to your spring. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!